Because nothing costs $1 anymore. So you 2 pennies each time you go up $1. Louise, okay, you do the fucking math in your head. Happy Sunday night. Welcome to a Sunday night edition of Late Live. With us here at Kandit News, we have a lineup tonight involving meth, marijuana, and Matson. So let's just get right to it. Well, let's start with our 26th day, Chalu. 26 days brining that fat girl extraordinaire Rendrati Celis Limtiaco has refused to place her best friend James Hubert in her paper because he got drunk as fuck at a GHRA gala and ran into the Akanta Mall, then ran into a bus stop which had a person in it, injured that person. I love it when they say individual, like an individual zygote or an individual lamb, or it's a person, okay? They're called people or a person or not an individual. Individual. It's like 5 fucking syllables. Shut up already. So, hit a guy and didn't make it into the paper. It also doesn't make it into the paper when Rendrati's editor, former editor, David Crisostomo, fat boy extraordinaire, is a drug dealer. Yeah, that didn't make it into the paper either. But everybody else makes it into the paper. Everybody who's not Rendrati's friend. And that's like the whole island, let's just face it, except for the Guam Chamber of Commerce. And we'll have more about the Guam Chamber of Commerce in a bit. So that's 26 days brining. Well, I found this thing on Facebook, right? Off of Rendrati. Let's just go to the people who poach the food that she gets to eat. I found this thing on Facebook about a lion eating a poacher who was first killed by a stampede of elephants. And I just thought that it would be great if everyone could go to that Facebook post and like it and share it, so that all the poachers can just fuck off and stop their stupid fucking dumb little dick hunting game, okay? Because it's not cool to like kill animals while they're just sleeping. And you're not gonna eat them. You're gonna kill them for a trophy. There's nothing cool about that. Nothing manly about that. All right, Superman. Okay. And then I went to game earlier today because Anna Babata, my zesty, suckered me into fostering a dog who she found. Her name is Daisy, and Daisy is a she looks very malnourished. You'll see in the video that's going to come up in just a bit. She looks very malnourished, and it's because she was used for a puppy mill. And then when her shitty-ass owners, who deserve to die, didn't want her anymore, they just started to starve her. And so she needs a lot of love. So Casa de Torres is going to give her a lot of love because we kind of like animals more than most humans. And well, let's just play the video so you can see all the little pussies at Gain who are not Dan Sidenko and Daisy. Just a good blood and hi, cutie. Ooh, look at this pussycat.
Sorry.
This.
Hey.
Hi.
This is Daisy.
Oh, is that Daisy?
Yes.
Hi, Daisy. I'm being suckered into fostering Daisy. And when I say foster, I mean like eventually adopt, because it just never fucking, like, it just doesn't happen that you just adopt. Hi, Daisy. Hi, baby. Oh my goodness. Where did you come from besides from Anna Babalta? Anna suckered me into doing this. I have like a house full of pets. Oh, you just need some love. Oh, you're so skittish. She's skittish, huh?
She's a little bit shy at first, yes.
Is there a backstory to her? Oh, I'll ask Anna.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anna, you fucker, if you're listening.
Took her a little bit to get used to us. She was very scared.
Well, is it okay if I pick her up tomorrow? I just want to see her because I just have to go into work. Okay.
We'll just make sure she's all ready.
Okay.
And then I'm not sure. Did you want to take her to the vet to get checked out?
Yeah, I'll do that.
You can do that, and the only reason why I asked is because I don't want to vaccinate her.
Okay.
Just if something else is going on.
Yeah.
If the doctor clears it, then you can bring her back and we can vaccinate her.
Looks like she has worms because she's so skinny. She do worms?
Yeah, she's on a 3-day panicure.
Okay. That's probably why she's so thin, huh?
Probably, yeah.
Hi, Daisy. I'll pick you up tomorrow. I swear to God, you're so fucking lucky.
So can I just get your name?
Yeah, Troy Torres. So visit the animal facility at Gigo. It's if you're heading northbound on Marine Drive, like if you're okay, northbound is if you're coming from like anywhere Dededo and south, anywhere from Yamatic to Dededo, and you're going toward Anderson Air Force Base, right? That's northbound. Um, on the right side will be you'll see the Gigo Gym. Well, it's the turn immediately after the Gigo Gym on the right. Just turn in there and you'll see Gain on the left. Um, that's the animal facility. And that's where I was today. And that's where I saw Daisy. I'll be picking her up to foster her. But that just, in sucker language, that just means keep her. But if you are not a sucker and you are able to, open your home to one of these animals in need. And by the way, there was a sign that said that they're not accepting animals right now because they're full. You know what that's code for? That's code for we're gonna start euthanizing animals because they don't. It's the most humane thing to do when the animal facility is full. So right now is like the perfect time to go to Gain, and you don't have to take the animal right away. You can say, put this animal on hold for me. Put this lovely little behaves better than children. Dog or cat or old dog or puppy or kitten, and there's a full I did a full thing of like almost all the dogs and puppies, cats and kittens that are at the animal facility right now, so you can see them, and they're so fucking cute. Like Daisy is emaciated. She's not cute right now. Okay, we're gonna make her cute, but there's fat puppies, there's fat cats and fat kittens. They've been eating like from the same pot of food that Judge Francis Tidinko Gatewood has been eating from, so they're kind of fat, and so go there because they're cute, not like the judge, and pick up one or call 653 GAIN. I don't know, 653 4246 653 4246 653 GAIN to ask about any of the animals. Put one on hold. Go there, visit during lunchtime or whatever, and put one on hold and pick one up and foster him or take it home or whatever. I believe they have a 50% off sale too, which is like the best kind of sale ever, okay? Because that's like a sale for love, for 150% love for 50% off. That's what you get. So I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been gaining a little bit of weight, too much to my chagrin. But I know that it has something to do, one, with me telling all those fat jokes. And that's Karma's little way of saying, step back, Troy. I know, but it also has something to do with the first ad that Kandit has gotten. And you saw the ad running, and it's for Island Cuisine. So I was eating at a party, and I was like, well, this food is fucking good. Like, where's this food from? And so it just so happened that the owner of Island Cuisine was there. So I was talking to him, and that's when he decided he wants to do the ad or whatever. But I was like, how did you make this to Nalakatni? Because it's really, and he wouldn't fucking tell me, of course. Anyway, they have really good fucking food. And if you're like you're part of those GovGuam employee associations or whatever, or you guys do catering at your big company or whatever, and you have in your Rolodex like Mary Hughes or Chodis or something. Okay, just never mind that. Okay, just call Island Cuisine. Their number is gonna appear in our ad. Let's play their ad again. Fat boy status right here. I gained like 2 more pounds just watching that video. It's fucking hard to lose weight when you're not on meth anymore, okay? It's 38 years old, quit doing drugs. But I feel good, Like I'm going to the gym. eating like a tomorrow should eat. I look like I just need more. I need more brown skin, and I'll be good. But I don't. Anyway, so well, one of our main topics tonight is well, speaking of that, one of our main topics is marijuana, and speaking of meth, what I notice has been missing in this Catholic Church discussion about how they are just so opposed to the legalization of marijuana. First of all, it happened, okay? Everyone needs to get over that fact. It happened. It's done. The governor signed it into law, like Maga Haga with her long signature, you know, Lourdes A. Leon Guerrero. Law, motherfuckers. I'm not trying to make fun of this. I'm just trying to make light of the situation because everyone's being so serious about this. And there was even this thread that I saw about that guy who crashed his bike on Epal Road. And I was, first of all, I was like, yeah, I used to live across there. And secondly, I was like, I was looking at the thread, and there were people saying that, you know, these are the effects of what happens when you make marijuana legal. I'm like, did you like put some THC scope on that body or on that person who was, you know, clearly really injured? And I hope he's alive, and like, you know, I pray that, you know, everything's okay with him and his family's okay and everything okay. So, but people were just really taking advantage of this shit for political purposes, and I hate that shit. And they were saying they took advantage of this poor person's situation to talk about the legalization of marijuana, and I was that's ridiculous. Did you have some sort of instrument that measured the THC in his body? You know, how do you know he was high on marijuana? Like, you don't know that. Maybe he was drunk. Maybe he was on meth. Maybe he was not on anything, and the road is fucked up, and it's the fucking government's fault, and that's why he crashed his bike. Maybe that's probably the fucking reason that he crashed. We won't know until an investigation happens. But it brings us to this discussion about how there are stupid arguments regarding marijuana, and among them, said Freeland Songen. And I was talking to my coworker, and I was like, Carlos, remember back in the day when said Freeland Songen was running for something, and he said something so stupid, and everybody just like latched onto how stupid that was, and that's why he didn't get elected. Well, it was that, and he couldn't remember. But then we were talking about it more, and we were like, hey, didn't Sedfree have, wasn't he a member of the Board of Education at the same time was a vendor with the Department of Education? Because that's clearly illegal and a conflict of interest. We don't know. We're going to check into it, and we'll try to get more on that for you, because it's something that we kind of remembered. You know, like, it was just one of those things back in the day when you were like, oh yeah, you know, corruption, it happens everywhere. But, you know, now we're all about, like, fuck corruption. You know, we've got this pedestal that we're on. And with all of our righteous indignation, we are like, fuck you, corruption. So Sedfree, you know, even if we find out that that's just an urban legend, fuck you for your stupid fucking marijuana lawsuit. You're just wasting everybody's time. What the fuck is it to you, buddy, huh? If you don't like weed, don't smoke weed, okay? Because no pothead is coming up to your door and forcing a fucking blunt down your throat. Nobody's doing that. There is no whiff of marijuana like floating by the window to your house, all right? No one's doing that to you. Leave people alone. Leave people, this is America, okay? We're supposed to be able to do what we want in the privacy of our own homes, as long as we're not hurting anybody else. So, no one on marijuana is hurting you. Stop trying to hurt the people on marijuana, all right? And I don't even like weed. Okay, let me just caveat all that with, I don't like weed. It makes me stupid, and I don't like not being in control of my faculties, because then, like, I have control issues, okay? Like, I'm kind of a little bit of a control freak, for lack of a better term. And being on weed makes me, like, not in total control, and so I don't like it. But if you want to light one up, If you need some therapy, because work is too hard or your kids are screaming too loud, more power to you, buddy. You know what? Light the fuck up and just don't have it around me because it stinks. That's all. That's all it really is. But when the Catholic Church talks about it, it makes me realize that they don't say shit about meth. They don't say shit about ecstasy. They don't say shit about cocaine. And as a recovering meth, ecstasy, and cocaine user, I like the uppers. All right, I liked the uppers. As a recovering blah blah blah, I think it would have been something if the church that I identify with, the Catholic Church, I'm a cafeteria Catholic, was a little more reverent in its ministry about social issues like meth and like gambling, which is very closely associated with methamphetamine use. And let's think why hasn't the church said shit about meth, yet they're so up on marijuana, And then I thought, well, they've got an entire wing at the Agania Cathedral donated by the Calvos. Champ Calvo, we've discussed this already. Champ Calvo is this big, all these cases involving the importation of drugs, and Champ's linked to all of this shit, right? Then there's Champ's nephew, John Paul, who was a drug dealer in the Philippines and a heavy drug user. He's also heavy. And then there are all these people in high society, like Crystal Methamphetamine Schnabel. Fuck, I forgot to put all these pictures together for you. Crystal Methamphetamine Schnabel and her rink-a-dink dumb girlfriend, Dee Dee Camacho, and a few others. And the Catholic Church doesn't say shit about that. The Catholic Church doesn't say shit about alcohol abuse and about how alcohol abuse tears families apart, causes domestic violence, causes DUIs, it causes all of these crashes in our streets that claim so many lives, including the lives of children, tears apart families that have young children in them, causes divorces. I mean, you don't hear the Catholic Church say shit about any of this stuff. Nothing. I swear to God, the police are always fucking doing the right behind her office, and I'm always I get PTSD about that shit. It's like, well, are they coming for us? Are they coming for us? This is the media, okay? Can't do that shit. So the Catholic Church has just been a hypocritical asshole about, and when I say the church, I don't mean like the body of Christ. I mean its leaders. Hypocritical assholes on this whole drug use issue, because they're going to go after something as harmless as marijuana, and they're not going to say shit about methamphetamine, cocaine, ecstasy, or alcohol. And maybe that has a lot to do with the fact that its biggest donors are all peddlers and all of those other narcotics, legal and illegal, including tobacco. Well, so there was this discussion on Grassroots Guam. I thought was pretty fucking funny, because there was this whole thing about Andrea Pellicani, and we're gonna have her on the phone in just a little bit. She makes it a point all the time to discuss. She hates it when you call it the recreational marijuana bill, because there's a difference that she brings up, and it's I think this is a very reasonable argument. If you're going to call it recreational marijuana and not adult use cannabis, because then she has her reasons, and we'll ask her about that in a second. If you're going to call it recreational marijuana, why don't you call it recreational alcohol as well? So Grassroots Guam, on their Facebook page today, this is the funniest shit. She says, let's start a protest against corporate charity bowls that serve recreational alcohol to raise money for causes. There should be alcohol-free events. Hashtag just say no to alcohol. Hashtag alcohol-free events. For clarity, maybe we should just start imposing the word recreational in front of alcohol. Let's make it a thing. Yes, recreational alcohol. And we have a graphic for the poster child for recreational alcohol in Guam in just a second. And then the next post, what goes better with fish, the recreational white wine or the recreational red? Ask the church. They serve recreational wine during their communion. Here's a recreational toast to the bride and groom. Boy, go fan, get some ice for the cooler of beer for leisure. Want to go with me to recreational happy hour after work? Hashtag recreational alcohol. Oh, girlfriend, you spelled alcohol wrong there, by the way. Oh, no, you didn't. I was just reading that wrong. With your medical fundraiser ticket, you get one free recreational domestic beer. It's funny. Hey, keep it up with those funny fucking memes, Andrea. All right? Grassroots Guam. They're on Facebook, GRASSROOTS space GUAM. Check them out. They're pretty cool. And like their page. So, speaking of these charity balls, there was one this past weekend. It was for the GMH Volunteers Association. They call them the Pink Ladies. And I can't help but think they're talking about, they got their name from that movie Grease from the 70s. And in the 70s, most of these women were 50. And so I just think it's kind of funny they call themselves the Pink Ladies. They're like the gray ladies now. But they installed their officers, and among them, there was a Christine Calvo sighting. And let's throw up that picture, because Christine Calvo, Christine is, I don't know if we're still on the camera. Christine is the poster child for Kandit News for recreational alcohol consumption, all right? And she gets to do this in the privacy of her home and in the publicity of her role as the First Lady of Guam, because her ass was drunk as no one's fucking business at the actual inauguration of her husband on January 3, 2011, in the secret inauguration that happened in the governor's chambers, where she was just like sweating fucking, she just smelled like a goddamn bottle of vodka. And in this picture, and she's gonna kill me, sorry, Auntie Joyce, we couldn't crop you out of the picture. So in the picture is my Auntie Joyce, who is like, I think she's the president of the GMH Volunteers Association, very hardworking lady, and she was the one who organized everything. And the poor lady had to stand next to Christine Calvo. She had to smell the alcohol off of her, and you can tell that bitch in this picture is drunk, and you can tell that she's been drinking again, because look how fucking fat she got. Not Auntie Joyce, I'm talking about Christine fucking Bottle Calvo. So there are these people in high society, no pun intended, who want to make it look like the people pushing this marijuana issue are just these recreational potheads. Yet they kind of forget that all of these events, these charity balls and the Red Ball and whatever, they're all based on alcohol. These people are getting drunk as no one's fucking business at these balls. People like James Hubert are leaving these balls and like running into people, and then their high society friends like Rendrati, the Turkey Limtiako, cover up the fact that they commit these crimes. And these are all alcohol-based crimes. So the hypocrisy in it just fucking floors me. And you know what? We want to talk to Andrea Pellicani a little bit about this and this whole like recreational versus adult use thing. And you know, I want to ask her too about the hypocrisy in all of this and the absence of the arguments from the church about other drugs and their harm to society. So let's give her a call.
Hello.
Hi, Andrea.
Hi.
Andrea. Let's
Yes.
it's like in the devil wears Prada. I just love saying your name. Talk to us about. I don't know if you just heard what I was saying about all the charity balls and how they. I love your memes, by the way, on Grassroots Guam, about all the charity balls and how they peddle all this alcohol, and all these people are leaving drunk. You know that they're driving drunk. A lot of these people are driving drunk home on our roads. These are our high society people, and some of these people are pushing out this anti-marijuana message, giving this sort of impression that the people who are pushing the message are just a bunch of potheads who, for leisure, just spark up and cause all this danger in society. Talk to us about that a second.
Well, I guess we've been dealing with some of the prohibitionist arguments for like really heavy for the past, few weeks, and so I kind of just lost it because no matter how many times we say that the word recreational does not appear on this bill, social use is only one use. We tried to explain that the problems with the medical program. We have tried to explain that doctors, I've had an oncologist tell me right to my face that they will not be writing written certifications for their patients. That's patients, people with cancer, okay? We have tried so many times to talk about the therapeutic value or the therapeutic benefit of cannabinoids.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try to say this. Prohibitionists want to paint a picture as if it's one use is recreational and another use is medical, and it's not that simple. Even those who are in support of adult use don't, I guess, fully grasp that there really is a big gray area, and the reason why is really science, right? It's the endocannabinoid system and endocannabinoids and phytocannabinoids. But I'm not going to get into the weeds of that. And so the pushing of this sort of recreational terminology, for people to say, well, I'm for medical, but I don't support recreational. First of all, what's wrong with people, enjoying or being happy?
Right on, right on. Thank you. Thank you for making that point.
Yeah, I mean, what's wrong with that? Why is it that if somebody has something, whether it be a glass of wine or a microdose of cannabis, if you have a glass of wine, you're a good person. And if you microdose on cannabis, you're a bad person. And I'm frankly just pretty fed up with this agenda of trying to teach people who support this. I've had somebody tell me they're praying for me today.
I heard the Archdiocese pulled the prayers on me, so don't worry.
Everyone's praying for you, Troy. And, while I appreciate honest, genuine prayer, I really do. Excuse me. I have a coworker that goes to Mass as many times as she can, and she goes to Mass when she leaves work. She literally tells me, Andre, I'm praying for you. I'm praying for all of us. And that, to me, is genuine prayer. But, when somebody tells me we're praying for us, we're praying for you, because I'm a supporter of, cannabis policy reform, it's really just, again, to paint me as if I'm some sort of degenerate or pothead or whatever, and I don't appreciate it.
Well, they're patronizing you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because apparently my morals are not, up to par with somebody else's.
Well, don't you worry, sweetheart. I'll call out their morals. Just feed me whatever information, public, and we will call out their morals because there ain't no one in this world without a sin that we can't fucking find. Well, I'm sorry. This is your show, not mine. So keep on.
So you're allowed to curse on it.
Okay.
But I just kind of got fed up, and I started thinking about all the recreational situations that we're perfectly okay with. As a society, we're perfectly okay when we make toast to a bride and groom at the wedding, because that's recreational.
Hmm.
Or, when we go to a medical fundraiser and we get one free recreational beer.
Domestic beer.
Oh.
Your one free domestic beer with this recreational domestic beer with your ticket.
Because we can't provide medical services here, or we can't afford to give people medical services, or people have to raise money so they can go off island to get medical services. So what do? We have a fundraiser at a bar.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly okay for people. But once we start talking about cannabis, all of a sudden we're talking about degenerates who don't know the difference between responsible use and abuse.
Yeah.
So I just kind of lost it.
Well, no, you didn't lose it. I think you just became real about with your feelings with the public about just the hypocrisy. And I talked about the hypocrisy a little bit with the church going full force, full throttle. Even after this thing has been signed into law, they haven't gotten over it, and they're going full throttle on this anti-legalization thing. And then I thought about it this morning, and I was like, where's the church on meth use? Where's the church on the abuse of alcohol that leads to domestic violence, the ripping apart of families, divorce, affairs, etc.? Alcohol leads to all of that
and
shit.
that's what I'm saying. I don't hear any of these people facing, and I'm not trying to create a straw man. I'm really not, because that's just not my MO. I don't argue in that way.
Yeah.
But I don't see the rage for something that we all know is far more harmful than alcohol. But every time I bring it up, apparently all these do-gooders, none of them drink alcohol, apparently.
At church they do.
Well, that's blessed wine, so I guess, blessed wine is good.
Polly, the wine and the boys, that was apparently a good mixture since the 1950s on Guam.
Well, from what I understand, the Vatican has some of the finest vineyards in the world. I'm not even joking. From what I understand, this is like a true thing, right?
Well, I think nothing stops the Vatican from having the finest weed in the world growing around those vineyards.
Sure, they can grow some grapes. They can probably grow some cannabis.
I like Pope Francis, but that's beside the point. We're talking about the Archdiocese in Guam and how they've led this political agenda against the legalization of marijuana, which doesn't even register on the scale of social ills on this island, or is one of those things that causes social ills on this island in the sort of way that methamphetamine, cocaine, alcohol has caused grave social ills on this island, and I just don't hear the church talking about it.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to create a straw man. I'm not trying to say, well, they say, well, cannabis is bad, and then I'm saying, well, what about alcohol? Because I understand the whole straw man thing, but I just literally don't see this kind of outrage for, social ills that alcohol has caused. And the reason why is because we all understood that prohibition just doesn't work.
Well, I'm telling you, it's almost like they want to create a boogeyman to sort of like push into the closet, pun intended, the boogeyman that they're facing now with the civil suits on sexual abuse of boys and girls.
I don't know. I don't know what the agenda is. It doesn't surprise me that the church would come out on cannabis. What surprises me are the many people that all of a sudden none of them drink alcohol. When I call it out, all of a sudden they're like, well, I don't support alcohol, and I tell all my friends that they shouldn't be drinking alcohol. I'm like, well, really? But tolerate it, right?
Well, let's get the pictures. Let's get the pictures from this weekend's Guam Memorial Hospital Volunteers Association charity ball, where there was a lot of alcohol purchased.
Oh?
The charity ball for
Was it recreational?
It was absolutely recreational imbibing of alcohol by
Was that bad?
by the top people on this island, political people, social people, GMH doctors. I mean, come on.
Wait a minute. Doctors were drinking alcohol? Wait, hold a minute. How do we trust them to show up at the clinic not drunk? And these are literally questions I could ask me about cannabis, right? Like, how could we ensure that, people aren't going to spark the joint and go to work? Do we know that any of those very responsible doctors, did any of them get in a car after this event, after they drank alcohol? Or any of these upstanding citizens that imbibed or consumed recreational alcohol at a charity ball last night, did every single one of them responsibly get into a car and have a designated driver, every single one of them?
Well, we do know from the Guam Hotel and Restaurant Association charity ball just 26 days ago that one of those upstanding citizens, past chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, James Hubert, drunk as Christine Calvo-Fuck, got into his car, ran into the Akansa Mall, reversed real fast, ran into a bus stop with a guy inside, injured the guy, and then tried to split. And we don't see that on the front page of the PDN, and for all of high society to see.
That's while I was on leave. It was unfortunate. To me, it was rather concerning that someone was in that bus stop.
Yeah, and you didn't see it in the PDN.
I didn't also hear the church come out and speak out.
And we did not hear the church come out and speak. Yes, you're absolutely right.
I didn't hear any of the people that are coming out about the social ills of cannabis. I don't hear a single one of them coming out on that.
Or the red light district in Tumon.
Even more disturbing to me is there was a motorcycle crash today, and as the family of this person is grieving and seeing this in the newspaper, there are people out there using it as a part of their agenda to say, look, see, this is what happens when you legalize marijuana. And I'm like, you don't even know. There's not even going to, there's no basis in fact for that being related to cannabis in any way. One. Number two, there is no way to tie THC present in the system to actual impairment. Science is not there yet.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because we did discuss that motorcycle crash and how people used it for a political agenda. I'm glad you brought it up because I want to turn your attention to, and I think you've probably seen this great article that Romeo Carlos put together, and it's in Guamblog, guamblog.tumblr.com. That's GUAMBLOG.TUMBLR. There's no E, okay, TUMBLR.com. Or you can go to Guamblog's Facebook page, and you'll see it's one of the first posts that's there. It's called Reefer Madness. And he starts off by saying, maybe it's your fake religious right-wing auntie or the Attorney General of the United States or the editor of a local newspaper. I love that little shout out. But people love making unsubstantiated claims about marijuana. Sadly, a large enough number of others lack the intelligence or integrity to not fall for their lies and myths and eagerly rush to spread the misinformation like a disease. Such is the case with one Miss Diana Iglesias of Dedito and the Guam Post. And so he goes on to discuss how Diana Iglesias wrote this thing about how, according to the National Highway Loss Data Institute, there were these false claims about a rise in marijuana-related car crashes. And so he goes through it, and he said, and this is very interesting because he says if you parse through this data, one of the things that you'll realize is that they did not, and they don't even have a way of determining how to relate it as a marijuana-related crash when, one, most of the people who tested for THC also tested positive for alcohol consumption, and two, THC stays in the body for up to 12 weeks. So how do you know that they just smoked a joint? And so, he just tears apart this Diana Iglesias and the Guam Daily Post, and it's a very interesting read. What are your thoughts on it?
When I testified at the legislature, I printed the most recent public safety report from Colorado. This isn't, a study that was kicked off of, getweed.com or whatever. This is the Colorado Public Safety Report. I didn't cherry the stat out of it and give it to them. I didn't misrepresent any information. I printed 300 pages of this study, and I gave it to the senators so that they could read through the entire study, so that when a statistic is given to them, they knew how to understand the statistic. Because I knew that people were going to go to them and tell them, well, traffic accidents and traffic, whatever is up. The truth of the matter is, it explains in the 2018 study the problems with how they were compiling the data prior to 2017. And part of it is, one, you can't detect THC impairment because there is no scientific way to do it. And then two, that they weren't separating THC from alcohol.
Yeah.
And so when they were doing talk screens of maybe a traffic fatality, or even for example, what was considered a cannabis-related or marijuana-related traffic accident could have also been somebody with cannabis in the car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It didn't marijuana impaired or cannabis impaired drivers is a complete and utter misrepresentation of what these studies are saying.
Well, and thank you for that, and thank you for adding to this commentary on Romeo's very thought-provoking article entitled "Reefer Madness" on Guam blog. It brings us to another point, and that is, according to our law right now, you can still get busted for transporting marijuana on our roads, right?
You know what? That's a good question, Troy. I don't know that there is any sort of container or possession law like that. I know you can't consume in public, but I don't know if you can't like put it in your. What we always just encourage everybody to do is put it in a safe storage or in a locked storage if they're transporting it, and putting it in their car.
Okay.
That was the responsible thing to do. Don't have it in your seat or in your purse or whatever. That's just not responsible. At least not right now. Until we have more education.
And the smell of marijuana can offer an officer probable cause to search your car.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. And so, well, I think the bigger point here is don't drive stoned. No one likes a stoned driver.
Right, and one of the articles that we shared, and one of the first calls we made over at 67, this is during fellowship, was Sergeant Paul Cow, and so he sort of explains.
Oh, he answers your phone calls. That's good.
Yeah, he also answers your phone calls. I can't speak for myself.
Well, we're going to pay him a visit tomorrow since he doesn't like to answer his phone calls.
He's not the easiest person to get a hold of, so I wouldn't take it directly personally, Troy.
Oh, no, I'm not taking it personally. I'm just, as a professional duty to my viewers, if Mohammed won't come to the mountain, we're going to bring the mountain to Mohammed.
Sure. I've gone through him a few times. We've had to, because he's always in meetings, and stuff like that. So there have been times where, like, we would try to get a hold of him to respond, and like, we won't get a hold of him until the next day. So he's a busy dude.
I've been waiting 5-6 days now for information on the Mandania Drug Task Force, so I think I've been patient enough with him. But we digress. Let's go back to your conversation with him on Phil's show.
So he sort of broke down, and that's probably why he was available, because it was a particularly big news day about cannabis, and the subject was DUIs. And so he kind of sort of breaks down how TPD responds to DUIs, and what intoxication means, and what is the process to determine if somebody's impaired. So there's an article on PNC, so if anybody wants to check it out, it's there.
Okay, and it's on PacificNewsCenter.com?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Yeah, so we've been promoting that too, because we promote responsibility. We promote responsible use and sensible rules. That's like the two big things that we promote.
And for people to have their shit together before they begin to imbibe.
Before what?
For people to have their shit together before they begin to imbibe, unless, of course, there's some sort of medical reason that prevents them from getting their shit together first.
Sure, I mean...
As a former pot user, I will... I can tell you it's important that you get your shit together first before you pop for a $20 joint at Poget.
I heard your story. It's actually pretty funny. But what a lot of people don't understand is that a lot of the problems that we have seen from marijuana is because of its illicitness. It's not because of marijuana itself.
Yeah.
It's on the list of most addictive items. It actually falls under sugar and coffee.
Well, sugar is extremely addictive.
Right.
Extremely.
And as far as like people were bringing up, and it really makes me sad, and I don't really want to talk about it today, but I keep seeing people posting it on the papers and everything, and it really breaks my heart that people are trying to bring in the murder of Vince Pareto into this to say this is why cannabis is bad. But the truth of the matter is that was a burglary, and it was a burglary gone wrong. And Vince Pareto should have had the opportunity with the talent as a farmer to be able to have a legitimate business, and he shouldn't have had to be doing it that way. And no life should be lost. No, not one more life should be lost because of cannabis illicitness. These are all crimes that are committed because it's illicit. It's done because people can't call the police.
Mm-hmm.
It's done because it's on the street. There's no safety. They've got to protect themselves. And these are the things that we want to change. They're not, consumers aren't being protected. They're not being provided child-proof containers. They're not being told, how many milligrams of THC is in the product that they're consuming. And so these are things that can be done that people don't seem to understand is better than what we're doing today.
Yeah.
We're doing nothing right now. We are doing absolutely nothing. And for whatever reason, those who oppose this law are simply okay with it.
Well, it's the law now, and I'll bet you that on April 4th, as soon as news came that the Magahaga had signed the bill into law, that it was the law of the land, there were people who dropped some seeds in some soil and were like, "All right, let's get this party started."
Well, the interesting thing is, I don't have any. I don't have anything, right? Like people are like, oh, I eat prohibitionists are like, oh, now you can spark it up. I'm like, I don't have anything. I don't. You know what I'm saying? Just because I support it doesn't mean, I'm just like, problem drug person. That just it just bothers me so much that all of a sudden, because I support cannabis policy reform, that all of a sudden I'm like some major pothead stoner, that like loser, and I'm pretty fed up with that because I think some of these people would be extremely shocked to find out that their coworker or their neighbor or their family member was consuming cannabis on a fairly regular basis, and they're perfectly fine.
Well, just like whenever I get skinny, people are like, "Oh, he's on meth," and I probably was.
You're so dumb. But, we've had these conversations, Sean. We've had conversations about, addiction and how we can help people. And for me, I truly just want to make a really big dent in our drug problems. And so I am looking at evidence-based models that actually help people.
Yeah.
And I want people to get help. And I want people to stop shaming people so that they can raise their hand and say, I need help. Because right now what we're doing with the shaming people and calling them druggies and calling them potheads and calling them meth heads is not doing anything to make people want to get help. We need to.
Well, let's just call that out. Let's call that out first, Andrea, because I know you're like a lot nicer than me. But let's just call that out for a second. Those are people. The people who shame other people for whatever, those are people with extreme deficiencies of character and strength, fortitude, and a personal constitution to live their lives the way that they would prefer for everybody else to live their lives, because they're lacking some marker of moral character, and they just want to pass that shit on to everybody else and act like their shit don't fucking stink. Like there ain't no log jam straight in their goddamn eye. So they're gonna point out the splinter in yours. And those are the people who piss me off the most, because you're right. They're not doing anything to help society. You are doing nothing good for your children if all you're gonna do is shame them about their addiction issues. You are doing nothing for society if all you're ever gonna do is shame people for doing things like this. Nothing constructive whatsoever.
And we're trying to change that. We're trying to, normalize conversations about addiction, and so that people at least feel like they have some space to go or safe space to go, that they really truly want to get help, and they know that there are people who understand addiction is a disease, because it's not a moral fight. Addiction is not a moral fight.
It's a health issue.
You don't
Yeah.
a disorder. And there are people who want to fight moral battles. They just can't seem to understand or accept that we have a public health crisis.
And the silver lining, of course, is if you do something stupid as a result of your addiction, you should face the consequences of the law. Absolutely. You should be held to account for those acts of violence or those painful things that you do to other people while you were intoxicated on whatever. You should face
Right.
additional
But the
penalties
point is
because
we
of
want
that.
people to get help before they enter the criminal justice system.
Yeah.
Because once you enter the criminal justice system, it's very difficult to get back on your feet.
Yeah.
And the war on drugs has destroyed so many lives. We don't catch them, and we don't give them help until they get into the criminal justice system.
And that's hardly helping.
It doesn't help anybody.
Yeah.
And if you look at Portugal's model, and I know I say this, and I know I sound like it, but when they have a model that has reduced drug recidivism from 75% to 25%, if something is that successful, why are we not looking at it?
Well, let's look at that model tomorrow. Can I call you tomorrow on this? On the Portugal model?
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's spend some time on that. But thank you so much, Andrea, for your time tonight.
Thank you too. I'm sorry I sent it. I really don't want to hate on anybody. I've had enough. I've just had enough with the moral shaming and this whole reputational discussion because it's not helping. It's not helping the discussion.
Well, honey, as Betty Davis or whoever that old actress was said, darling, if you've got nothing nice to say, you just come sit by me. Don't you worry, I won't judge you. We'll judge other people together, all right?
Great. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Andrea. Thank you so
All
much.
right.
Good night.
Bye.
So thank you, thank Andrea Pellicani from Grassroots Guam. She's also the host of the Midday Show on News Talk K57. Catch her every day from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday. And she's always got a lot to say. They're always, like, the most controversial issues come up during her show. And like the funniest kind of shit gets said by some of her callers. It's very interesting. So we're going to take a 30-second break to go to our Island Cuisine ad. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about who's helping Matson. Welcome back to this pretty cool production. Eric says things like 20 seconds, 10 seconds, stand by, 5, 4, 3, cue. Like, I have to talk. Okay, so this is all pretty cool, you know? It's like Hollywood shit. So there's this thing called the National Defense Authorization Act. It's extremely important to all the corporate corrupt throughout the world because it is what dictates how many billions of dollars are spent where by the Department of Defense. And as you may know, a huge portion of defense spending is on private contracts by big companies throughout the world that provide services that the Navy mainly outsources through contracts with NAVFAC, Naval Facilities Engineering Command, which is like the world's best procurement agency, like because it has like almost 300 years of experience doing and fine-tuning procurement, et cetera. So one of the things that the Navy started to outsource back, I think it was in 2003, when Congress enacted the Maritime Security Program, was the shipment of goods and construction materials from any point in the world to wherever the naval fleet or wherever the military needed things to be placed. So rather than building more ships, because the Navy's fleet over the years, and as we move into this period of we're focused on American readiness, moves from the Middle East and Europe over to Asia and like our part of the world in the Pacific, the Western Pacific, they're starting to build a fleet for war readiness, and so for supply ships and all that shit. The fleet there has gotten kind of old, and they're like, okay, rather than building a new fleet, which is very expensive to do in the United States, why don't we just start to outsource this shit? And so, because the shipping line, American President Lines, has had this relationship with the military, and Matson has not, because Matson has chosen its commercial interests above national security interests, and because it is far more expensive for Matson to build its ships than it is for APL to buy and maintain their ships. APL has been the Department of Transportation's choice over the last several years to provide this service under the Maritime Security Program. Now, well, let me get my notes. It's a lot. So there's this National Defense Authorization Act that dictates how much money gets spent on shit like this. In 2018, there was an effort to strike the Maritime Security Program shippers from any role in the military buildup on Guam and through the Hawaii trade route. And it just doesn't, it defies logic, because it would make things way more expensive for everybody, not just in Hawaii and on Guam, but also throughout Micronesia. And so it almost made it, and due to some, reasonable lobbying by, and we're gonna give credit where credit's due, former Guam Governor Eddie Calvo, current CNMI Governor Ralph Torres, and some others, they were able to, instead of getting rid of the MSP, saying that there will be no more MSP participants. So whoever was providing the shipping services for the Navy under the MSP at the time of this authorization, they get grandfathered in, and nobody else can participate now. So that is a disservice to the people of Guam, the CNMI, Micronesia as a whole, and also Hawaii. At least it wasn't all lost. And so the people who were trying to get rid of the MSP provision in the National Defense Authorization Act, it's pretty scandalous. It was the Hawaii delegation itself, and at the time, it was. Do we have that graphic going up? Show you who these people are. Senator Mazie Hirono, the second Senator Brian Schatz, current Congressman or Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. She's also a candidate for president. And former Congresswoman Colleen Hanabusa, who's no longer a Congresswoman because she ran for governor of Hawaii and she lost to David Ige. So these four, the entire Hawaii delegation at the time, were batting against the MSP, against Hawaii's own interests. And when I say Hawaii's interests, I'm talking about the how many millions, 3 million or whatever people who live in the state of Hawaii who, just like Guam, rely on imports very heavily. Almost everything that they consume, well, not almost everything, but a huge percentage of what is consumed in Hawaii, because there's a group of islands, right, is imported from the mainland United States and from Asia. And so it just defies logic. It doesn't make sense that that the Hawaii delegation would be against this MSP, except, of course, when you follow the money trail. And we'll have more about that as we expand our research into Hawaii and into the corporate politics and corruption that exists there. But suffice it to state, all four of those people in the Hawaii delegation or the Hawaii congressional delegation are in Matson's back pocket. I mean, it's just, and the more that we dig into Matson on Guam, the more we find how entrenched Matson is. Kandit sent a tweet to the Guam Chamber of Commerce and to Catherine Castro, the president of the Chamber of Commerce, earlier, and they haven't tweeted back, they haven't responded, but we asked the Chamber of Commerce what it is doing regarding Matson's game of Monopoly on this island, and they're probably shitting in their pants right now, wondering what the fuck we're doing. But don't you worry, Chamber of Commerce members, we're going to make sure you're all held to account, for betraying the trust of the people, your own consumers, who you're supposed to be protecting, who you're supposed to be standing up for, lobbying for. You have a whole lobbying effort for H2 workers, and yet you're not going to fucking lobby for the consumers of Guam who have to pay higher prices because of Matson's almost monopoly, who, if Matson wins their case in the district court in Washington, D.C., we are certain to face astronomically higher prices for everything that is imported here and sold on our shelves. And where are you, Chamber of Commerce? Where are you, Guam Chamber of Commerce, in all of this? I haven't heard shit. So, on that lawsuit, Matson is suing in federal court, suing the Department of Transportation, basically to get rid of APL. It's only competitor on Guam, and the crux of their argument is unfair competition. And earlier today, I talked about in my morning live thing, I talked about how there are people, whenever they don't have an argument to stand on, they start to make shady arguments. They start to go to something else, and then they remove you from where the real conversation should be and who you should really be defending. And then before you know it, they're just starting to defend themselves, and you never realize it because they have all these fancy words. But let's just play that clip from earlier today. In reading these federal filings, this is what Matson writes in its complaint, in its original complaint against Matson. It's on page 8 of their federal filings. It's, Part 2, the Maritime Security Program promotes U.S. shipping and foreign commerce. They write, the Jones Act protects domestic, and they emphasize domestic shipping. Quote, in U.S. foreign commerce, however, such protective legislation is not possible, unquote, because the foreign countries with which the United States trades have equal rights to allow their own flagged vessels to carry cargo in such trade. Independent U.S. tanker owners, COM 690, Federal 2nd Edition at 912. And number 36, under Part 2 says, in order to promote U.S. shipping and foreign commerce and protect U.S. flagged carriers from the lower construction and labor costs generally enjoyed by foreign carriers, Congress has long authorized subsidies in U.S. flagged carriers operating in foreign commerce. So the translation for all of that is, yeah, it would cost the people of Guam less if all of these ships were allowed to drop off shit here at Guam and in Saipan. But because we're a U.S. flagged whatever, and we need to be the ones protected, the U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C. should not allow APL or any other carrier that doesn't do what Matson does, because it's a behemoth of a corporation with huge lobbying interests in the U.S. Congress and among federal agencies. They shouldn't be allowed to do shit, and Matson should be allowed to just have a complete monopoly in Guam and the CNMI. Fuck what the people of Guam and the CNMI pay. That's exactly what this is saying. In order to protect domestic shipping, they're not trying to protect the interests of the Navy and its national security to get this military buildup going under the $3 billion. They're not trying to protect the interests of the ratepayers or the grocery shoppers at the supermarkets who have to pay a shit ton of money more because of the shipping costs that Matson shoves down our fucking throats. They're not concerned. What they're concerned about is how much it costs them. What they're concerned about is not competing with any other vessels, whether it be APL, which is a U.S. flagged carrier company, shipping company, or any shipping vessels from Singapore, Japan, Korea, China, wherever, right? Where if they were allowed to just ship their shit directly to us, we would. So what I found out today after that episode was that Matson, even though it's suing because it believes there's this unfair competition that's going on, that's just the weirdest fucking thing. Unfair competition. Like, this is the American economy. It is based on competition. There's a whole antitrust act that was developed back in the 1920s to prevent monopolies from growing in this exact kind of way. And protectionist policy like the Jones Act that is just, it's basically subsidizing the existence of Matson. And they want more. They're just not satisfied with their 70-30 market share here on this island. They want 100% of that market share to increase its profits. I mean, their CEO, a guy named, his last name is Cox, C-O-X, he got some $4 million bonus in 2017. It's like $4 million. Could you, so let's just say a can of Spam is what, $3.99 sometimes? Let's just say that out of that $4, $1 of that was Matson's shipping cost, was paid to Matson to ship that can of fucking Spam on Payless's shelves over to the port of Guam, and for that container to be taken to all the Paylesses where you know, the Calvos screw us. Let's just say $1 of that $4 went to Matson. That's 4 million fucking cans of Spam that went from our pockets to Matson's CEO for that guy's fucking bonus or his pay or whatever the fuck it was. It is ridiculous. And their entire thing about, you know, this unfair competitive advantage, it has nothing to do with the welfare of the people of Guam or the CNMI or Micronesia or even Hawaii, and everything to do with the profits for their shareholders. I found out that while Matson operates under the auspices of the Jones Act, they have every right to operate under the auspices of the Maritime Security Program, but they choose not to. Why? Because they profit more being under the Jones Act and operating under those auspices. So they have this suit in federal court, and all the while they're trying to sell it to a judge that it's unfair because they receive these subsidies through the MSP. They can be in the MSP, but no, they receive their federal protectionist subsidy from the Jones Act, so they stay there, and now they're trying to muscle out APL or its competitor, any competitor that comes here. They're trying to muscle them out from competing with Matson. And let's throw up the next graphic of, on page 22 of the federal filings, I want to show you what, this is crazy, what Matson itself writes in its federal filings. Currently, Matson operates no vessels that receive MSP subsidies. Yeah, but you could, but thanks for the admission. And then they say, as a result of the APL decisions and the MSP subsidies resulting therefrom, APL is able to significantly lower prices than Matson for shipping cargo on the same routes, driving carriage from Matson to APL, and altering the competitive balance in this domestic market. And as a result, Matson's cargo tonnage declines by 23% in its competition with APL. Well, fucking good. I'm glad. You know? Thank you, APL. As a result, this is what Matson writes in its own federal filing. As a result of this competition, we've had to lower prices. They're complaining about lowering their prices to us. That's Matson saying, fuck you, Guam. Fuck you, Saipan, Tinian, and Rhoda. Fuck you, Hawaii. That's exactly what Matson's saying. They don't give a shit about any of us. And their little commercials about how they're so invested on this island, no, they're not. They got a couple Oreo cookies, and the rest of them are all carpetbaggers. They don't give a fuck about us. They just care about the money that they get to rip off from us. And this is happening. Almost lost my cigarette there. This is happening in federal court right now. And yeah, it's been covered by a couple of our media stations, but not the way it needs to be, because this is big. This is about the prices of almost everything on this island. And if Matson wins, we are in for a rude fucking awakening. Our prices are gonna skyrocket, and they won't give a fuck if we can't afford it. They won't care about the people on food stamps. They won't care about the homeless. They won't care how many people this makes homeless. They're gonna raise their rates because they're gonna increase their profit margins. That's all they're gonna do. They're just like the fucking Calvos. Let's go to, hold on. Let me look at this real fast. So then in the next page of those federal filings, let me bring this shit up. In the next page of those federal filings, let's bring that video up. Over here, that snoring, that's Carlos snoring on the couch right now. Mara's decisions have caused and will cause Matson to lose sales, lower prices, and or expend more of its own resources to obtain business in the Guam and Saipan trades. Lower prices. So there's Matson admitting in its own federal filings that if things continue, if APL is allowed to continue to compete with Matson on Guam, they will have to lower prices. Well, fucking A. Let's have them continue so that they can lower the goddamn prices. All right? That's exactly what needs to happen in this landscape because prices are just too fucking high and no one's giving a shit and the Chamber of Commerce isn't doing shit. But why? Why isn't the Chamber of Commerce doing shit? And why aren't we hearing about this from our senators, our governor? We heard a little bit about it from our congressman, Mike St. Nicholas. But remember, this NDAA thing happened during the term of former Congresswoman Madeline Bordallo. So we are going to get my partner in crime, Johnny Rosario, who did the research on the Federal Election Commission filings and is doing more research on our senators and our governor. But let's hear a report from her about the money trail.
Hello?
Chalu.
Hi, boss.
Fuck you. I'm not your boss, you fucker. Hey, you're the queen of the north.
No, I'm not.
What do they call you?
They
Elsa?
don't call me anything.
They call you Elsa. Elsa, she's the queen. I'm just kidding. I love you.
Love you more.
So, you did some research today about,
Right.
yeah.
Sorry I cannot be there. I want to be there, but apparently our judicial system is pretty fucked up.
Yeah. Tell us
But,
about that. Tell our audience about what the judicial system did to our First Amendment rights.
Oh, I guess they gagged me. I'm only allowed to work between 8 and 5 at the office. So, yeah, and I've been following everything they've asked me since day one, and I got punished for working and supporting my family.
You got punished for
starting
going out,
and
starting a
doing-
business,
Yes,
doing construction work here in the office, doing
Right.
research, helping with our investigations, and now reporting. You're not able to do this from the Kandit studios because it is after 5 p.m. on a Sunday. Is that correct?
correct.
Well,
So I'm being punished for following their rules.
there you go. Some progress needs to be made in our judicial system so that it doesn't affect people who are in the judicial system to fall to exactly where the judicial system doesn't want them to fall.
Right. Don't worry, we're going to get to them.
Yes,
We
yeah.
will get to them.
Yes, we will. But you can rest assured we will. First Amendment, pretty important to all of our people. So, thank you, Chalu. Why don't you tell us about what you found today and the money trail that we're following?
Well, for Madeline Bordallo, Matson actually contributed a total of $27,690
To what?
for campaign.
Oh, to her campaigns.
Right.
Jesus Christ. $27,692, you said?
Yes.
I wonder where that
And
$2 is
we
from.
also found something on Anthony Babalta, but we need to get into that later.
Anthony Babalta, the governor's chief of staff?
Chief of staff, correct.
Interesting. And we'll get to that later, you said?
Yes, we will get to that later. I'm not done with that investigation.
Okay, okay. So you're still doing research into that, and hopefully tomorrow we'll have some information on,
Right.
on Tony Babalta's connections with this
Oh,
issue?
yes, very connected. Very,
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Okay. Oh,
And mind you, he used to work for, I believe, the Department of Interior.
yeah. Yes, he was. He was the assistant secretary for Insular Areas, Department of the Interior, yes.
Right.
Okay.
So there's big issues there.
Okay.
Uh,
I'm going to call you after this live cast, and we're going to chat about that, Chalu.
Contributions totaling into the election cycle for 2018 for
Okay.
Matson to help them with their Stop monopoly on Guam and everywhere else. Contributions were a total of 126,780. That's just contributions into the government, senators, Congress people.
Jesus.
But the lobbying, they paid two firms. In the year 2018, it was $300,000.
Okay.
Okay, and then the year 2017, there was a spike. This was last 2 years ago, $650,000.
What's that spike about?
We don't know. This was, I think it was for something called Coast Guard Authorization Act of 2017.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah, the lobbying. Actually, it's called a revolving door. 18 out of 20 Matson Inc. lobbyists have previously held government jobs.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and the members of Congress, members of the government, actually hold shares in Matson. It's Fox, Virginia, FOXX, and it says R-NC, and then a Westerman Group, and that's Republican-AR.
That's AR is not Arkansas. That's Arizona.
Yeah.
So there's a Republican senator from Arizona, a Republican senator from North Carolina. These are former officials?
No, they're still officials, and they own shares in Matson.
They're still in office? Owning shares in Matson?
Yes.
Huh. Oh, you're really onto something here.
Yeah, we are. So that's what I got so far.
Oh, shit. All right. Well, that's super interesting. I can't wait to hear what this Tony Babalta thing is. You know that Cello Eric and I are going to be at the governor's office bright and early tomorrow morning to put a microphone in Governor Lou Leongaro's face to ask about this Matson issue. If we're we'll have a conversation after this to know if we're ripe to ask any questions there. But we also are going to ask about the Mandania Drug Task Force and tax refunds. So just let me know after this conversation whether there's anything we need to ask the governor about Matson.
Well, I can be there if it's after 8 o'clock, remember?
Pardon me?
As long as it's after 8 a.m., I can be there.
Oh, you're going to come with us?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah. All right. Is there anything else?
Hold on.
I know you want to cuss. You can cuss.
No, I'm okay.
You okay? I'm the only bad
Thank you.
one. Okay.
I love you guys.
I love you. Love you, Chalu.
There.
Okay.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
So, so following the money trail, this happens to be a very intricate web of money. I mean, this is $27,692 in contributions to former Congresswoman Madeline Berdallo's campaigns. It's no wonder we never heard anything about this Matson issue. It is no wonder we did not hear her protecting the maritime security program. And we're gonna check the congressional record to see if in the beginning she was going along with the Hawaii delegation in supporting the removal of the MSP from the National Defense Authorization Act. And then I'm gonna call Johnny after this and find out more about what's going on with Tony Babalta's connection to Matson. That could be interesting. He's currently the governor's chief of staff, and I'm sure this MSP is going to need Governor Lou Leongaro's support since Governor Eddie Calvo no longer is in office. He was the one who tendered that letter to whoever in the federal government in support of the MSP. Now, the next step that we're going to take here at Kandit is to start asking our elected officials here on Guam and the Guam Chamber of Commerce what they're doing in this federal lawsuit, and if they're making any waves, or they're going to start talking to the people of Guam and to the court through any amicus briefs that they may be able, and they have the authority to file on behalf of the people of Guam. In this case, 18-CV-02157 in the district court for the District of Columbia. So that's basically. Do we have anything else here? No, that's a wrap for tonight. Thank you so much for staying. This was a long show. Thank you for staying with us this long. We appreciate all your time. Good night, happy Monday, have a great weekend, and we love you all.
That's all.
Union, which exposed the
That's all.
exploitation.
That's all. That's all. That's all. That's all. That's all.